Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Mindset Kitchen podcast with your host Chef Hashim and Kareem. So we are back again with a brand new episode, and with me I have Kareem today. Hey Kareem, how's it going?
What's going on, bro? Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Excited to jump in as usual today. How's the weather these days in Dubai, bro?
Dubai, we've actually started. The summer is actually started. So it is quite hot, but in Dubai, even if it's summer, I'm not talking about for everybody, but for us, for me at least, I don't go out much during the peak times. Like for example, between 12 and 3, I'm usually indoors.
Nice,
So yeah,
smart.
for me it is okay, but I'm sure there are people working outside. For them, they are actually, feeling the heat way more. But yeah, so. What about you? How's things there? How's the climate like in Dublin now?
Bro, in Ireland right now, the weather is it's like around 16, 17 degrees, which is like super warm over here. But for me, it's fine, like it's like it's the perfect temperature that you want, where you feel like nicely warm, but not too warm, and not too cold either. So yeah, that's for me. But for people here, it's considered like roasting, like burning. Like some people want to stay at home, it's too hot, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's good, man.
But apart from that, how's things overall? How's work? How
You know
how's
what,
the
man? I
energy
think,
levels? How's the motivation levels? How's things?
bro, we'll keep it real with our audience. Like these days, I'm really trying to look back at the topics that we discussed in Mindset Kitchen, because I know that you tell me the same thing all the time, but like sometimes we thought like if even if nobody listens to this, at least we have this as something even for ourselves that maybe could help ourselves. And I really feel that the topics we're discussing, man, are now more relevant than ever. I am going through some challenges at the moment, and even when you are kind of aware of the solution, and in some cases not even aware of the solution yet, sometimes it's really important to get your mind right and get into the right mindset so that you're able to be as productive as possible. And I think it's super related to the topic that we'll be talking about today. So why don't you tell us what it is?
I think definitely before the topic, just a minute, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think Kareem, overall, even the last episode we are talking about certain things, but I think overall a lot of people, like any friend that I'm talking to right now, like most of the people I'm talking to right now, definitely yes, things are good, things are better, but I think majority of the people, compared to like 2 years back, compared to 2019, 2020 and 2021, this is more or less everybody is having challenges compared
Yeah,
to a
man.
normal time. But yeah, so anyways, I think like you mentioned, the topic that we want to discuss today is everybody's heard this very famous saying, teach somebody, teach, I don't know the exact words, but the saying goes like, it's better to teach somebody to fish than giving them a fish. Like for example, so difference is, if you give somebody the fish, okay, you give them that fish, they eat the fish, and then
For a
again
day.
they come back you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come back. But I think the twist that we want to give is, how can we actually start, teaching people to fish so that we can actually gain some benefit in the sense, don't get me wrong, like not like, starting teaching people and making money out of it, but there is a lot of other benefits. Yeah. One of the benefits is definitely it helps with creating influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is more or less a topic that we want to discuss. Do you what do you, when I, on this topic, for example, yeah, do you have any thoughts, Kareem, just to get started?
Yeah, I can kick it off. So basically, as you said, chef, like buy me a fish, get me a fish, I eat for a day. Teach me to fish, I eat for a lifetime. And one of the I think one of the first things that comes to mind is just this notion that it's specifically for people who might be similar to you and me, sheyaf, people who are like, okay, whatever, like ambitious, driven, a little bit impatient, sometimes a little bit too impatient. They just want to get something
That's
done.
more like it, Kareem. Not little patient, a little bit
Too
too
impatient most of the time. But there's 1% when we are regular patient. But yeah, the point is, because it's something that I mean, like, for people listening in, like, guys, the topics that Chef and I always speak about are usually, they're not just random topics or theoretical topics. If you notice, we usually have like some personal anecdotes to go with it, and we're learning through having these conversations together. So this one is no different, man. And I mean, from my perspective, like, I'm one of those people who is extremely impatient and just wants to get things done. Very similar to you, maybe, Chef, knowing you, and sometimes to a fault. Like, sometimes I get to a stage where if someone is not gonna get something done, out of me trying to help them, I'll be like, no problem, let me come and get it done for you, right? And I didn't know the repercussions of that, right? And I did the repercussions for that person, which is a whole nother topic in and of itself. Maybe we can touch on it a bit today, but also the repercussions of that for that person. So in this case, for me, because this means that you're creating a culture where anytime you need something, you will have to go and get it done yourself. Whereas being able to teach others how to fish, you're not only doing yourself a benefit, hopefully that benefit is quite clear, but also the benefit for them is absolutely immense. And I think the thing that we'll be talking about today is the ripple effect of that, or the ecosystem effect of that, and how that actually helps you build your own influence, because people start to see you as not just someone that, Chef, as you were saying earlier, like someone where, they do something and you're making money off them, or you're taking advantage of them. Not that making money off someone is taking advantage, like that's the definition of business, but like, to be able to actually make them rise to their potential, and they're now self-sufficient. They're now, a very successful person thanks to this exposure to you, and thanks to all the skills that you were able to pass on to them, and that sort of thing. But Chef, tell me what you were thinking, bro.
I mean, I think first thing is I want to put it into a little bit more of context. Yeah. So for somebody who's listening, this is a situation I think most of us face in our day-to-day lives. For example, we might be around people. What happens is, it's the first time when you think of this example of fish and fishing is somebody coming and asking for help, like you're outside. And somebody just comes and says, what, can you give me some food? Okay. But I want to take the example even like a little bit more closer to the people. Like it could be, for example, at your workplace, or it could be at your home. For example, you're somebody who's not going for work, or you're sitting at home. It could be somebody like, let's say, your sibling, your partner. It could be a child. So they are always coming and asking you for, I want this, I want to do this. So instead of actually doing it for them, you could maybe consider, empowering them. Yeah. So coming back to this, right. Yeah. But in the process, what happens? See, one angle that I'm thinking about is how this can build your influence. Okay, influence in the sense, for me, when I think about this, it's about passing on what I know. Mm-hmm. Okay, and in the process, somebody gets empowered, because for people who are listening who might not have listened to the previous, there is a couple of episodes that we've done where we kind of touch upon these topics in different areas. Like one of the first episode we did was givers, takers, and matchers. Yeah. Now in those episodes that we clearly speak about, people who are like this, who are people generally who are about teaching about, like, who are the people who don't actually buy the fish, but they are about teaching the whole idea of fishing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And definitely when you start practicing this does build influence. Influence in the sense, people start seeing you as somebody who is, giving value, adding value.
Yeah.
And this end of the day, starts translating into influence. What is influence end of the day? End of the day, influence is, for example, you are known to be in your circle of people. Let's say you are known to be somebody who is actually always, if somebody comes saying, I have a particular issue with my marketing, okay, or with my business, or, there is some numbers I wanted to look at. Or, for example, let's say it's fitness, whatever. So either you can actually teach them or show them how to take a push-up, or for example, teach them the skill to actually where to look at the right kind of information and how to judge the right kind of information. So what happens end of the day is you are the catalyst or that person, who's become a reason for that person to actually go ahead in that journey as well. And definitely they will benefit. Yeah. I don't know if this is...
I like the part of how teaching them how to judge or how to assess their own information as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because end of the day, right, I think the reason, for me, this topic, I think, like you said rightly, Kareem, when we usually have these topics, when we discuss, I'm sure sometimes I come with the topic with the current situation that I'm in. Okay. Similarly, there are some times that you might be relating to the situation in a different way. Okay. Yep. And I actually want to understand this further. So is what I'm saying, does it make sense, or is there a different context that you were thinking of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it was pretty much the same context, which is not necessarily, I remember coming across either a book or a concept or something like that of something called the 5 levels of delegation. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the specific ones, but it's such an interesting concept. But as you might imagine, or maybe, I don't know if people can imagine this or not, but basically, level 1 delegation is like, Chef, if you're delegating something to me and you tell me, Kareem, I want you to, for example, make me a cup of coffee, okay? And I know exactly, this is the exact task, okay? That's level 1 delegation. Mm-hmm. Level 2 is like, I want you to, I'm just improvising here, but let's say, make me a hot drink, okay? There's a couple of choices available in the kitchen, just pick something, make me a hot drink. Level 3 is like, let's say, here's like what the doctor told me of like what I should be looking out for my like health and nutrition. Mm-hmm. Figure something out for me. Level 4 would be like more and more. So basically, the further away you go, the more advanced and I should say sophisticated the level of delegation is. So maybe a very obvious example would be, let's say a large company and the CEO is telling the VP of sales, for example, hey, Mr. VP of sales or Mrs. VP of sales, we want to put this sales target for the next year, for example. Go, make it happen. And then this person will talk to their directors, and the directors will talk to their managers, and so on and so forth. But you're delegating at such a high level, and then everything else will be done by that person, And so, what we're talking about here, and I think this is what you were alluding to as well, Chef, when you were saying like to teach them how to judge and to judge these situations as well with the information that they have, is not just level 1 delegation where it's like, oh, I don't have time for this is beneath me or something, I'm just gonna tell someone else to do it, as much as it is kind of like delegating up, where it's like you're creating an expert out of this person. You're putting him or her in a position where they really are the best capable person for this, not just from a time and capacity perspective, but also genuinely like from a knowledge and experience perspective. Like they have seen the most of this, and actually they're the best person to make the call. It's no longer you or someone else as such. So I really like this idea because people are smart, like they can tell if it's like, okay, you're just giving me this because you don't like Google Sheets, as opposed to, hey, I'm actually very thankful for you because now I managed to build up my CV in a work example, or in life, maybe I've learned some new skills or learned some new hobbies or what have you. And now these things will continue to benefit me for the future. Heck, maybe I could even use this to teach it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So that's the context I was thinking of, which is aligned with what you were saying. Yeah.
Interesting. Because, for me, whenever, I think of teaching somebody to fish, it's like, for example, the examples that I took earlier, it could be at workplaces, even it could be outside of workplace as well. Yeah. And there are a lot of studies around this. Yeah. For example, if you remember quoting back from givers, takers and matchers, they talk about givers at workplaces. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And generally people who are in the mindset of teaching fishing, for example, to other people, these people generally are more successful as well. Mm-hmm. Now, this is in both aspects. In the aspects as an employee, as a manager, or even as a normal person who is, not in a work setting. Mm-hmm. These people throughout the time, long in a journey, for example, these are people who I think, according to what I've seen and experienced, people look up to, or they become mentors by default, not by them telling, for example, I'm a mentor, but people start looking at them as mentors as well. Because majority of the mentors, this is one topic that, is also very close to my heart. Maybe we do this in a different episode, is most of the mentors, effective mentors out there, one of the reasons, they are very effective as mentors is, yes, obviously they give you the right kind of advice, but they are not about giving you the fish.
Yeah.
They're always about teaching you how to fish.
Yep.
And in today's time, connecting this, right? Okay, now giving this a different spin. We spoke about in the beginning of the episode, we were actually speaking about how, in this year, and we've mentioned this a couple of times, everybody is having some sort of stressor. Stressor means something. For somebody, it's work. Somebody, it's their business. For somebody, it's family. So for somebody, it's relationship.
Yep.
Especially, like literally, if there was a meter, okay, which could actually show, or a gauge, if it could actually show the level of stress overall in the world, I'm sure from 20 to 21, this is way higher.
Went up. Yep.
Yeah, it went drastically on an individual level and a collective level. Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the reasons, if you actually look online, the reason, we've discussed this before, I think the consumption of social media, the consumption of content, the consumption of, for example, Netflix, everything is gone up. Okay, I'm just taking it to a different tangent, but I'm going to connect it back. It's gone up because everybody is consuming more content. Everybody is consuming more and more stuff to actually reduce the stress also.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah,
people are
that's
spending
true.
more time. So as we are talking about this topic today, I think this attitude of, just imagine, instead of using let's call you yourself a fishing instructor. Okay, not like literally the fishing instructor, but you are in the business of, or you like to teach people to fish. This is one very good way to actually cope up with the stress. Because I think this is something we discussed in these previous episodes. Like, if one of the very effective ways to actually, let's say if you are going through a stage in your life, where there is a lot of stress and you are battling with depression. Okay. Or for example, what happens usually when you're battling with depression is you are not able to perform anything. You're not able to do your day-to-day stuff. And basically, you're not able to do anything productive. So a lot of psychologists, a lot of studies behind this. What happens is, it's not that easy. It's easier said than done. But this is like, you said, Kareem, you were having some challenges. So me during Ramadan, right before Ramadan, right, there was a small space, like a week to 10 days, 2 weeks, where I was having similar challenge. And like literally what happened was I was sleeping more than what I usually sleep. Okay. I was spending way more time in the bed, and like my productivity levels just dropped. Like even if I would come and sit. So what happened was, I realized, there were multiple factors. There are some things that are bothering me, and I could not pinpoint what it was. So I was feeling this stagnation. So I remember, so this is like you said, this is why we have Mindset Kitchen. So what I started doing was I started listening to some of the particular episodes where I remember we discussed.
I love it.
And there are few, for example, psychologists online, who speak about mental health. I started following. So one of the points that I took is, sometimes when you are stuck, and this goes contrary to our Asian belief or Asian mindsets, or the Southeast Asian, or even the Middle Eastern mindset, I would say, is when you are going through a rough time, when you are like, for example, in pile of dash, or like, when you are not in a good place, this is the last time to think of helping others.
Yeah.
Like, fix your scenario first. But what the science says and study says, when you are in such a situation, right, if you end up helping others, or if you become a fishing instructor, it's not going to be easy. But for me, this is how it helped me to actually get out.
Thing almost, yeah.
It's very therapeutic, and it's therapeutic.
I was just taking note of that on my keyboard, yeah.
It is therapeutic in 2 levels, bro. 2 levels. One is the satisfaction of you making an impact. Because most of the time, right, they say, if you remember another episode, we discussed about PERMA, the 5 things, which is the wellness and happiness. So one of them was positive emotion. So when you do this, right, you definitely get some sort of joy or happiness.
Totally.
Okay. And this also, takes your mind off from whatever the stress you are, which is engagement.
It helps you zoom. If I may jump in quickly, like it helps you zoom out a little bit, and it just helps you to see the thing more objectively, as opposed to feeling like you're experiencing this video game. You actually zoom out, and you can now see the player, and you can see the screen, and it's just, it's just a much healthier view and a much more objective view, because if you're caught up in the thing, then naturally your emotions will take over, and I don't care how logical you are, like we are emotional beings, and it might cause some emotions that might lead to this, that might lead to thoughts, that might lead to actions that are not necessarily the most effective or useful in a particular situation.
And connecting to what you're saying, it not really helps you zoom out, and it helps you take when you zoom out, it takes the mind off of your worries. And immediately you start having a cause. Like when you're, for example, the reason you're teaching somebody fishing. Okay, now let's take the fishing example out. Yeah. It is somebody like a university student, or it could be a family member, or it could be your team member. It could be anybody randomly that you met. The moment you start helping somebody build a skill or help, so what happens is you also temporarily you get a sense of purpose or direction. And you feel like you're part of somebody else's journey. So in PERMA, the M stands for meaning. So momentarily, we all have our meaning, our destination, but every now and then, when things become extremely overwhelming, which is happening today in these times, all of us, including myself, and this is, for me, this was a very big game changer, eye opener, because I was among those people, Kareem, who, when somebody says, like a year back, when they will say, you know what, I don't feel like doing, I think I am battling depression. I think I might have symptoms of depression and stress. I do not have a context. Like I would tell them, you know what, it's okay. I would not say, it's just a phase, but I would still try to push them. No, but, after, seeing firsthand and sometimes experiencing, reliving, being empathetic and understanding some people's situation, right? You realize it's not easy. And if you have a fishing instructor in a time like this, it really, really makes a big difference. So coming back,
100%.
If you are having such a challenge or you are having a tough time, when you start becoming a fishing instructor and teaching somebody to fish, you take your mind off. You also become part of somebody else's progress,
success story,
fulfillment.
Progress, yeah.
And before you know it, you are feeling perfectly all right. And you have this energy back in you to actually look back at whatever challenge you are facing in a more objective manner.
Or at least a little bit better than where you started off from. Because I completely agree with you. And just to build up on that, Chef, like I think, as you were saying exactly, like once people start to look at it more objectively, they're getting better at solving the solution, but in the same time they're doing something nice for someone else, which gives them meaning. And of course, like in terms of like in physical terms, it's also being part of that solution, which could be like a capacity solution, it could be a knowledge solution, it could be a capacity issue or a knowledge issue, or an experience issue or something like that. And once you start to, if people watched our episode on Who Not How, I'm like completely infatuated with this topic. Still am. It's like this is like the one concept for me, like this year, Who Not How. It's amazing because you start to again realize the power of like working with a lot of other people and not doing stuff for them, obviously, but rather taking the time and actually teaching them what needs to be done. I'll ask you a question, Chef, and you know me, I like to ask you difficult questions on air. But this is one that I'm trying to find an answer for myself. You know how people say that, this classic like scenario where it's like, okay, I can teach someone, but it's just so much quicker for me to do it. Okay, and then the rebuttal for that is, yes, but if you teach someone, then you never have to, you never have to do it by yourself again. Yes, it will take time, but it's a good investment. So I'll ask you something. What if, just to make it a bit harder, what happens when you teach people, okay, and for some reason the entire thing falls through? Basically, you have to find someone else to teach, if that makes sense. So like how do you you know what I mean? Like when you invest, basically when you invest time teaching someone, and then something happens and it's no longer like a good opportunity for them, and they move on and that sort of thing. How do you actually make it so that this is still not time wasted? I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this, because I think it could definitely be applied to like a professional standpoint as well as a personal life standpoint. But
I mean, Kareem, if you reframe the question again, and if you just make it like a super short version of the question, like there are multiple things I'm actually, can you condense the question? Like if it was supposed to be a single sentence question, be more objective. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I got the question, but I'm like, I actually have the answer already in my mind, but I want it to be more objective. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so they say that teaching people takes more time than just doing it yourself. Takes more time, but ultimately it'll be better,
definitely
right? So my question is just to throw like a spanner in the works. What happens when mid investment, something doesn't go as planned, okay? And this time that was spent investing in this person to teach them to fish as such did not necessarily work out. An example of that is... I mean, I can give more examples, but let me keep it short. Yeah.
So mid-investment, I understand. Mid-investment, for example, it did not work out and it did not benefit. Okay? So
right. And the whole point was that you were waiting for this investment to pay out.
Okay, I think people who listen to the podcast quite often, don't hate us for it. But first answer is, I start with obstacle is the way. I mean, in one term, obstacle is the way. Because an answer to this, honestly, Kareem, there is no other answer, because this is something you cannot foresee. And this particular thing that you are mentioning, like the benefits, I think, outweigh the harm or the pros of teaching somebody to fish, even on a job context, personal life context, relationship context. It is best for you and the person, because one thing that happens is if you teach them to fish, who not how happens, literally. Okay, so what happens in the long run, if it's a person that you've hired, or if let's say if it's your younger sibling, or if it's your child, if you teach them to do something, I'll give you the smallest example. It's like teaching my daughter to tie her shoelace. Okay, I mean, it's a very minute thing, but every time when you're going out, if you have to sit and do it, it takes some time. Okay, and another example for example, let's say is when she gets into the car. I drive an SUV, so she cannot open the door. So I spent like good 5 to 10 different instances, 3 hours total. Now she knows a particular way how to open the car. She puts 1 foot on the tire. She goes up, she pulls the door, she goes in. So I'm like, okay, this is not a good example, but what I'm trying to say is mid-weight. So the benefit I'm getting is I save a lot of time. Okay. And I don't have to bother with this.
Right.
And in the long run, for example, I've empowered my daughter, who's very small, like 4.5 years old. But similarly, when this comes to a workplace scenario, definitely it is not as vanilla as this situation, because I'm sure there is money and time involved. But if you think about it, there is no other way. There is no other situation. Like you cannot foresee something like this happening. So you still have to plan to teach somebody to fish. If you get where I'm coming from. Definitely there is no benefit. Like if this investment did not work out, and this is something being an entrepreneur.
I think there is in terms of like if there is anything like you could look at the objective criteria and see like what
exactly
does this teach you about.
Sorry to cut you, Robert. This is why the first thing I answered is obstacle is the way, because the immediate benefit is situation like this. There is a very interesting learning that's going to come out of it. Okay, compared to, but after that, I mean, answering your question again, I don't think so there is a straight answer to this, because it is still beneficial if you look at it, if you decide to look at it in that manner. But definitely when you look at numbers, there might be some, because you spend a lot of time. I mean, there is no way to overcome this, because we cannot foresee, what, is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, just to add to that, like one of the things that could be not a perfect solution, but just like a constellation, is something that I've started doing personally, which is looking at how you could actually document. Imagine if, okay, so sticking with the fishing analogy, okay, imagine if you're able to write a fishing instruction book, okay, or a series of videos on how to fish. You see
Understand?
where I'm
I
going?
mean,
You see where I'm going? So this way you can create that you can make that knowledge available in a way that that makes it easier to teach others how to fish. Of course, it's not like the full thing, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So that's,
I mean,
that's what I figured out so
definitely
far.
people who are listening, you can check out Create Once, Serve Many, because we talk about the same concept. But overall, I think it's people who are listening, they have some context, they have an understanding. I mean, this is really helpful in your workplaces, professional life, plus personal life. But the benefits definitely outweigh the, I'm not getting the word opposite of benefit, harm, or yeah, harm. Because remember this, end of the day, if you look at it, like I said, Kareem, if I have somebody new in my team, okay, or I have somebody who's a friend of mine, and I was in this process of teaching them to fish, I was trying to empower them, and midway, it does not work out. But immediately I am at loss. But if you look at the long run, right, that person has benefited.
The long run.
It is not going to immediately benefit me, but that person might have personally benefited, which they are going to use this knowledge elsewhere as well. So I mean, end of the day, if you see it in that lens of obstacle is the way, okay, like whatever, I think, there is no losing out. Whatever inconvenience that is caused in the short term. And one last thing,
That's true,
before
man.
I think we are on time, one thing I also want to add is, generally talking about, if you are that fishing instructor or somebody who's in this mindset, remember this, there are a lot of studies which connect happiness, contentment, and there is even there is a study which says helping people, specifically if you are in the business of volunteering or in the business of teaching people to fish, like empowering people, there is a strong connection between this and elongated life. Like, for example, you live longer also. You end up living longer, because connecting back to this thing of, when you start helping people, but the only criteria is you have to, when you're helping people, be it your employee, be it your friend, be it your colleague, the intention behind this should be that, I genuinely want to, okay, even if I don't benefit, because this is something, ideology we have, we have an ideology. It's easier to digest this in the future. So what happens is, if you are looking at this manner, they say this really helps. Connecting to earlier point, this helps with, they say, for people who consider, who suffer from loneliness, for example, who suffer from, stress or depression, or any sort of challenges, helping others definitely has a very positive impact. And we've covered this in other episodes, in gratitude, in a lot of other episodes, where positive things, whatever that you do, which benefits others, it has a direct impact on your health as well. So
that's amazing, man. And I think to add to that, like once the ripple effect of that starts to kick in, you really start to develop a positive reputation for having helped this person and that person and that person. And as we were saying earlier, like in the example I gave, even if something doesn't necessarily work out, like those positive vibes are there, those positive learning moments are there, and you're able to continue build a bridge, you know what I mean? And so it definitely helps overall in helping to build somebody's I suppose, like, ecosystem of others that they have helped, because you never know like how things might happen or unfold in the future, and how this might come and affect you again, like positively in the future. And I love what you said, Chef, about how like when you connected with like meaning and connected with just like having genuine, that's the word, genuine concern and sincerity towards the other people around you, and genuinely wanting to teach them to fish. this actually has
Yeah.
positive impacts on your health. And to put it simply, as you said, you're likely to live longer if you get into this mindset. Again, mindset kitchen. Get into this mindset of actually helping others around you, and teaching them to fish is an amazing way of helping others to.
No, definitely. I
grow
want
overall.
to, before I close, I just want to leave with this thought, parting thought. In Givers and Takers episode, we had discussed something called, people who have not listened to this episode, definitely check it out. It's a very interesting episode and something which is very close to me and Kareem, this topic. So there are givers, there are takers. Takers default are people, for example, who are they're not evil people, but usually the people who like to just take. Yeah. So there is something we discuss in this episode, and in the book they call it as taker's tax. Okay. That is not a pleasant thing. If you are a taker, people collectively, internally start imposing this tax on you. This is by not giving you respect, not being friendly with you. Similarly, just imagine. So if you are a fishing instructor, this fishing instructor or this person, there is going to be not tax. I don't know what is the positive term for tax. Like there is going to be benefits. People start seeing you differently. People start, immediately they start respecting you more. They start loving you more. They see you differently. They see you as someone, they want to be around. So, so definitely check that out. That Givers and Takers is an episode that, we highly recommend to actually get this into perspective. So anyways, Kareem, I think we've
100%.
covered quite a lot, and we can pick this up. Definitely we can pick up this discussion in a different episode. And so hopefully, guys, let us know what do you think. And if there is something specific, from this episode, that you want to understand, we'll be definitely, more than happy to actually, discuss more about it. But apart from that, as usual, thank you for some of the messages. I forgot to mention this last week. So few of the people who listen to the episode, somebody from India had messaged asking why we were not active. So I said, check out the new episode. We took a break. Okay. And one of my friends who is in Kuwait, okay, my old school classmate, I think I mentioned about this guy. So he also messaged and asked, he had called me. He's like, what's happening? Why aren't you putting episodes? Did you guys stop or something? I'm like, no. We are, we are back. So
I love it, man.
we really appreciate, we really appreciate, some of the people who did check. And that's all, guys. We have a lot of very interesting episodes coming up. We are going to be more regular now, and we're going to mix things up a bit.
Yep.
Hopefully in the coming episode you will actually see. So that's all. As usual, subscribe. Let us know what do you think. Share with your friends that if you find this episode helpful, and we'll see you in the next episode, guys.